What did I say earlier, class? I said, remember that Cordelia said, get off your knees. And here we are.
Welcome back to And Just Like Yap, everybody. I'm Caroline.
I'm Andi.
And we're here to recap episode 2 of season 4 of Industry. And I have to say, recapping this episode has felt like preparing for a DBQ for AP English. If we saw a painting, we heard a song, everything was intentional, I think, this week. How are you feeling before we, get into it?
The show is very different this season, and I feel like it's really enjoying the level of freedom of not being constrained to the trading desks at Pure Point.
Also, I think what's interesting about this season, because we ended season 3 and it's allegedly Yasmin and Harper have gotten what they've wanted, and now we're seeing the ramifications of that it's not quite what was pitched to them.
It's act 2 of Into the Woods.
Exactly. Which famously, if they do it in high school or middle school, they don't do act 2. Which is my favorite thing. So you just see act 1. You think it's all happily ever after, and it's like, babe, James Corden's wife dies in act 2.
James Corden. How dare you.
But we are taken to our girl Yaz, looking like she is every bit of the political wife. The hair is just very formal, very that sort of prim and proper. And we're finding out the votes for the Wakefield seat. Now, I found out Count Binface did actually exist in real life, but in 2018. In a different county seat.
Novelty candidates really do happen in England. We
find out Henry had gotten 16,000 votes, but loses to Jennifer Bevan, who is of the Labour Party, which we sort of lightly touched on last week. The Labour Party is the closest sort of to the Democratic Party versus the Conservative Party, which is what Henry was going under, which makes sense because he's what? Rich. Henry's really in the thick of his depression, but we're not sure exactly what has spurred it at this moment. And they have a sweet little moment after we find out he loses where Yaz is like, at least you don't have to keep fucking Margaret Thatcher now. And he's like, I love fucking Maggie T. And
they kept it up for a little while. Yaz, actually, this was her happy ending for 5 minutes.
I know. But now we see what's really going on. And then Henry is brutally awakened. He's clearly been drugged up, had lots of alcohol, who knows what he's taken. And we're celebrating him tonight for Henry's 40th birthday. And he was like, well, are you going to be Peg Toddy? Which we sort of looked up.
Okay, it was kind of hard to find. I did find a LinkedIn profile for an actual person named Peg Toddy. It's not that.
I'm sure she's gotten a lot of hits last night. She's like, why have I gotten 500 views on my LinkedIn today?
Shout out to Peg wherever you are. I hope it leads to growth in your career. I looked this up. He's about to go shooting because, again, what is he? Rich. He likes to go shooting.
Yeah.
Peg, I think, is a marker for shooting. And Toddy is, I think, British slang for an attractive woman. So the idea is she's kind of going to be a boxing ring girl, I think. Or Peg Toddy, look her up on LinkedIn, make her an offer.
That she can't refuse. Andi, thank you so much for the research.
No problem.
And Yaz, you can tell she's still kind of playing a part fitting into this family. There's just more formality to it versus her family had a lot of influence, but they weren't royal adjacent.
I mean, this is so British, right?
Yeah.
All of Jane Austen's works are about high class people who have a lot of money, but then all of the different tiers within that, because a Jane Austen heroine is considered poor, even though she lives on a family estate in the country in a giant mansion. Henry's a baronet, which is the lowest form of nobility you can have, other than you get knighted, you're a Sir Elton John.
Yeah.
You're not born into it. He's not a big deal at all. He just has this big old house and generational wealth.
And good for him. And we find out 10 weeks have passed since he lost the seat in the election. And Yaz has given him a gift that we sort of see on the table to the side. But he's very despondent at this table. And we see that it's a nice looking watch. And we see an inscription. And Yaz tells him it was in your father's credenza. So it was a watch of his father's. And this takes Henry to another dimension, and he leaves. And what's happening to Henry is a conversation that's happening with with him in the room and without him in the room. Like, everyone's concerned about, like, what's happening to Henry.
Also, just real quick, enormous stack of sausages on that table.
Oh,
More sausages than any of those three people could ever possibly eat. Yaz is just surrounded by sausage all day long.
And Henry goes to the hunting lodge. There's, like, a longing look of him at the guns, like, not subtle at all of, like, what he's thinking about. It's like, oh, Chekhov's gun, quite literally. Henry sort of tries to just, like, push it off, saying, like, I was just cleaning my gun. Can you change the lock in case the guests are coming don't happen to, like, get in here? So it was like, oh, was he trying to get him to change the lock to keep him from having access to the guns?
Yup.
And, as we say, if you're born of a certain wealth, you're out hunting, you're shooting pigeons, you're shooting clay things, you're shooting whatever rich people are hunting. But we find out, like, tough love is always, like, do you realize your behavior is unacceptable? And he nudges him again. It's like his father, we know, is like a gentle topic, and tells him your father wouldn't have indulged.
I wanted to mention here, lithium is a common treatment for bipolar disorder. Like, obviously, I'm not going to diagnose Henry, but, I was doing some Reddit perusing last night, and the general consensus, his symptoms pretty closely mirror somebody who has bipolar disorder, which makes sense because he's got some high-ass highs and some low-ass lows.
Henry is like, well, fuck my father and his genetic inheritance, like, and we find out that this birthday was always going to be particularly difficult.
Later on, one of the characters says that something sits at the nexus of something. Henry sits at the nexus of, like, very, very serious dark issues, and, like, I'm a little baby man.
Totally. And I have to say, this is such a nice 180 for Kit Harington from Game of Thrones. I don't know if you really watch Game of Thrones, but I'm really enjoying this character because I feel like Jon Snow just always had to be this sort of, like, I'm saving the day sort of person.
Kit Harington, you've got the range. You've got the range,
babe. We're happy to see ya. And we find out that, like, obviously, we know a little bit that his dad did commit suicide. We didn't really know, like, the details or, like, how gruesome things were. And they have this, like, little tete-a-tete where he's like, well, what if I finished you here? And it's just this, like, it's just, I don't know, mental health is so complicated, and especially when you're in such a, like, depressive state like this, it's so hard to see, like, that there's an other side to everything.
The idea that, like, reprimanding him to snap out of it just because of, like, who he is and his position in the world,
it's not that easy.
It doesn't help, unfortunately. And, like, Lord Norton says something in here about, like, either tamp it down or, like, integrate it into your life. And, like, he's not wrong about the integrating it into your life. Like, I remember back when I had much more anxiety and was in therapy, my therapist was like, it's not gonna go away. You're gonna have to, like, learn how to live, like, with it and around it. So, like, there's some truth to it, but, like, it's so, of course, British nobility to be like, just stuff it down and carry on.
Yeah, keep living your life. It's gonna be fine. Go have a crumpet. That's just depression for you. That's just a cold day in hell, and tomorrow you'll wake up in the sunshine. We cut to my man in the tub, and we find out, it's funny, I did have to do a double take because I thought Yaz was referencing she's on Charles's side, and I did think, oh, King Charles's side. And because he says, like, she's as problematic as him, I was like, well, yeah. And then when I was going back, I was like, oh, wait, talking about her dad. So we're talking about her aunt is coming to the birthday this evening. It makes me think of the room where they took Baz in Harry Potter, and they'd, like, get the clue for Goblet of Fire. Like, it's so, like, palatial, but, like, formal and marble. Yeah. And we get the shot of my man, and and we see that, like, Yaz is just, like, drowning, as we can tell in this marriage, of, like, this clearly losing this seat has, like, fully set him off. And she's like, I want you to see me. Stand up. So he stands up. We got a little tush. You got a little tush action.
Yep. A little bit of tush.
Which I did wonder for a second. I was like, are we going to go around the front? We did not go to the front. I'm sorry to tell you. There was no full frontal for us this evening.
Not today.
No, Yaz's shoulder blocks all of it. We start to get into this moment where Yaz, like, we think it's going to be tender. There's going to be a moment of reconciliation. And they have this, like, nice exchanging of glances. And then, like the captions say, water is splashing rhythmically, and she's not bathing him like you would a child. There is A very sad hand job happening in this tub.
Oh,
And
boy.
we get the, like, wider angle shot of the hand job, and you see it's like she's literally having to be over him like a mother, like the way that we've set up the shot.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I didn't even think about that. She does. Oh, no.
Yeah, it's like your baby.
No.
Like, she's, like, bathing him.
Oh,
Like, from
no.
what it looks like, but we know what's actually happening. And he tells her to stop, and then he's like, look, if you want to fuck other men, you can. And Yaz is just, like, so disappointed in everything happening with him, because he can't just rise to the occasion.
I just realized we're going to talk more about art history later. And it's rich that I'm even going to bring this up because I slept through my entire art history college seminar. But there's a lot of imagery with him in the tub of the famous painting, The Death of Marat by Jacques-Louis David. It's just like an important piece of art. And it's from 1793, which of course it is because this entire episode, we'll talk about this more, there's so much 18th century stuff everywhere in this episode.
And Yasmin just, like, sort of, you know, she stands down from her duties with the hand job and says, like, well, you have a meeting at 2 p.m. with Whitney. And we're taken to what was the end of the premiere. We find out that everything from basically the first 10, 12 minutes of the episode preceded this moment from the end of the last episode. So we're, like, sort of all caught up in the present for, like, all people in our industry world. And he's back to the harpsichord, banging his pills there. And we find out this time that there is a tour guide who, because of course these are, like, even though they're homes, they are, like, public buildings that you can take tours of.
Yeah, they're museums.
Yeah. And she's taking this group of young girls, like, through here while Henry is, like, out here smashing pills, snorting off a historical harpsichord. And he's quickly, like, putting all of his pills, like, into this little box behind a vase behind him. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Sir Henry. And he yells at them, scaring these poor young girls. And they, like, run out into another room. What do they ever do to Sir Henry?
I know, they're just on a field trip.
Yeah,
they're just on a little field trip.
They want to see that Christmas tree in the room. It's a gorgeous tree.
It is.
It has to be like a 30-footer.
Did you catch what the tour guide was telling them?
Oh, the gray lady.
Yeah, the gray lady, the famous ghost that haunts the grounds, which I think that will become kind of relevant as we go on, like, you know, elbow. Yes.
Look at that. He starts playing the music for the funeral Queen Mary, which this is the first of, like, multiple Stanley Kubrick references this episode, because so this, they use this in Clockwork Orange. We kind of don't really know what's real and what's fake. Like, what is, like, a dream, what's an illusion. As someone who just saw The Shining for the first time a few weeks ago, so.
Oh, well.
I know, filmistry, okay. And we see Yaz. A mother has found her, son. Put your clothes on, Henry. And I loved this. I don't know, this sequence of shots for me were like so satisfying to watch from the POV that they shot, because we see him at the harpsichord. We see him look over and notice that the box is gone at the drugs. And then we take another shot and he's in different clothes. And we don't see him get up. I was like, this was such like a because I think it plays into the mindset that he's in, just like fully drugged. Like he doesn't know what he's doing and like how he's existing.
Also, it just, like, evokes the image of, like, did he sit on that bench the whole time while Yaz, like, put his arms through his sleeves? Like, probably.
Probably, yeah, because he's a doll at this point.
Yeah.
Whitney asks the loaded question that you never want to hear from any future employer. What do you want to do next? Like, oh my God. Like, that's the last question you want to hear in any interview. It's like, okay, well, what do you want me to say?
Be the best I can be here, please. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Let me hit your ROIs.
Please,
Let me hit your KPIs. That's all I want. And Henry gives, like, a brief rundown of, like, what he's been doing. He's like, I was MP for 6 months, prison minister for 72 days. I ran a public utility in the administration. And Whitney's like, your timing was off. And it's also interesting. I think we have to say, like, also, because, again, every image is loaded in this episode. The fact that there's a rope between the two of them. Like, that we have literally the fact that Henry is, like, roped off to everyone else. So he's like,
he's like sitting in a museum display that can't be touched. Prison minister, really? Like, the way they just gloss over the fact that he was like a prison chaplain. Like, It just seems so incongruous with everything else we know about him. It's very weird.
I know, but I bet it's like because he's of like that sort of stature. It's like people just threw titles at him, and it's like, let's see if this job works because they're able to do that. And we hear him say, he's like, I failed upwards and then failed totally. And Whitney, we're starting to find out like that he's like, there's no second chance. He's like, well, maybe as an American, but like I'm not sure the same can be said for the Brits. So it's like sort of also letting us in to Whitney a little bit as well, because we've sort of like, we're like, oh, why is he not in America then? Why is he pursuing this payment processing platform in the UK? So we sort of start to have like more questions about Whitney and like what his background is and like how he got here. And he says like, and Henry says this very poignant line, I'm a fraud touched by success. And he's like, no, you got to think about it differently. Your success who believes he's a fraud. What's a great man has lived a life without friction. And I was like, oh, interesting. This man's really trying to lay it on thick underneath to bring this man into Tinder.
Yes, he is. He listened to a bunch of like, I don't know, Tony Robbins motivational tapes and was just like, he had some things locked and loaded for like how to reframe Henry. And the thing is, Henry's such an easy mark.
Yeah.
Like he's very malleable.
And mold him into like whatever you need him to be, and which is what Yaz is doing. We cut to our girl Yaz in Marie Antoinette affair, and Henry is looking like baby Mozart, but probably dressed like Louis the 14th or 16th here. And we see like even this again makes him look like a little boy.
I know, little dandy boy. Also, like, give it up to Kit Harington. His like stature, speaking like a former drama major, the way he physicalized this character, his gestus, if you will, is just he did a really nice job. I know, I'm obnoxious. Like
the way that they've like shot this too, the fact that like Yaz looks like bigger and he looks smaller as well too, just sort of like the angles of everything, and Yaz is just trying to like still have some hope left in Henry and is like, could there be a role for you at Tinder? And he's like, well, did you brief him on how to puff me up? And then this shot is crazy because now with the hair that she's wearing, she looks much bigger than him. So it's like showing that Yaz has the upper hand. And Yaz tries to make him feel better by saying it's just the shoes. Like, just so it's like, you know, you're still bigger than me, babe. Which, like, what woman hasn't had to have that conversation with their man? It's just the shoes. And she just really wants him to sleep in here tonight. And he just sort of leaves her saying nothing. And she goes down to greet her people. And he puts these, like, crazy little sunglasses on. And he's looking at himself in the mirror. And we go downstairs and we see that it's just, like, a disillusioned sort of group of, like, we've no idea who any of these people are that are down here. And we meet Aunt Cordelia, played by one Claire Forlani, famous actress of the late 90s, early 2000s. And she points out Uncle Otto across the room, and you know he's fucking disgusting. And we find out Aunt Cordelia has met someone, find out that they're they're like 29, I feel younger, and he says, bend over so I can see it.
And she's into it.
And she's like, is it sad for me to say I'm happier now than any one of my children being born? Does it make me a bad mother to want to be fucked? Okay. Now, before we get into the rest of her character, no, it does not make you a bad mother to want to be fucked. Mothers deserve to be fucked.
Absolutely. The show, though, has a real habit, especially when it comes to Yasmin, for, like, parenthood and sexuality to be spoken about in the same breath in a way that's just so unsettling.
Any horrible thing that's happened to Yasmin is, like, just out of reach on the surface. It's, like,
all the time.
At all times. Yas starts talking about Henry, and she's like, I'm a spectator and a caregiver. And Aunt Cordelia gives this, like, crazy monologue that really gets into a lot of this, like, telling her that's not a partnership. You can't be too afraid of what you'll lose. Then you'll lose it. It's self-fulfilling because they will weaponize it, and then they fuck all their fears into us, and then they kill us. It's a historical common denominator. They love murdering women. And I was like, this is the truest couple sentences.
I know. It was like very, very much like Gone Girl speech of like, like that, she's not wrong. And she's saying it with such conviction. And also just in this setting and in these costumes, and because like these wealthy British people just speak very sort of like austerely, like I fully forgot for a second that we weren't just watching like a period drama.
I know.
Because this conversation in particular, the trappings of it really take you to a different place.
It's hard to like sort of figure out what her motive is right here telling Yaz this. Like, is she...
Right.
trying to tell her that to be helpful, or is it for something else? Like, what is the motive behind all of that?
Right, because we've never even met this character, so, like, we have no idea what her deal is.
And we see Yaz taking this in. She was like, okay, I got a big old truth bomb that I was not expecting in front of me about the state of my marriage. Thank you so much. I'm going to go talk to another guest. After she tells her a little dispassion could save you, get off your knees.
As I have said before in recaps, keep that one one in your mind. It will be relevant.
It will come back full circle.
There will be a pop quiz.
At the end. And we find out, so Jennifer Bevan comes in, and Yaz hurriedly comes out to grab her. We see a glimpse of the downstairs. We see a hurry of like everyone working downstairs to make this party run. We use the kitchen for Uncle Otto and Jennifer Bevan and Yaz just like have a big meeting of the media and the political. Yaz orchestrated this whole thing, but it is like this interesting lens in the fact that, like, you know, you become elected into this like sort of political position and you find out actually you have to answer to all of these other like people who don't technically have a political position, but they sort of control how the public views things and things like that. So you have to work with them. And now they play the Suite for Jazz Orchestra No. 2, and this was played in Eyes Wide Shut, which also by Stanley Kubrick, which a lot of that movie is like very dreamy because they go to this like masquerade party, Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise, just that state of like sort of like not reality that we're in. And we get a big shot, exterior shot, and our girl Harper is walking up. She's been around all these like rich people in different ways now, so you can sort of see her like assessing this whole building, and she's not impressed. She's like, okay, I'm going in. And we cut to Henry looking over everyone again, looking like a little boy. And we see that sees Whitney at the bottom of the stairs in front of these 3 specific paintings that we'll get into in a second. And they like get into this like little back and forth about like how Nietzsche like killed God. And it was like just the beginning for men like us. And Whitney's like, you want something you don't have. Same for me. Like, that's all the fraternity that we need. Like, we can help each other get the thing that we need. I was going to do this like CEO parade, but I convinced my board we would expedite it, basically saying, I'm happy to give you this role. You know, longevity in Britain is about access. You can give me the access that I don't have currently, because as we sort of discussed last episode, he's trying to make Tinder this more legitimate sort of company and not just working with these seedy companies like Siren. And the entire time I was just like, when are these two gonna kiss? Like, they really were so close on their faces this whole time. I was like, just a little peck on the lips would have been nice. And they talk about, well, all they have is that boat, referring to the painting, and Whitney leaves him. And this painting is Fisherman at Sea by Joseph Mallord William Turner.
It's one of these things of like, Whitney is this character that like somehow seems to like be able to like frame things just perfectly to get what he wants. And it's like, he couldn't have been smart enough to like go look at a specific painting and then like plant the seed in Henry's mind and be like, look at this painting. But like, maybe.
Well, the fact that he knew specifically they had the largest collection of I was like, this guy
he's done his research. He did.
Makes you wonder, again, it's just like there's a bit of hunger and desperation from him that we're not seeing from people who are born into wealth. It's similar to Harper in a way.
Yeah. Also, I found out while I was doing some research on this episode, Halberstram is a last name that is in American Psycho. So once again, more American Psycho stuff this season.
And this interaction ends the only way that Henry knows how, by chugging God knows how much vodka, tequila, whatever is in that flask, and like snorting coke. Mommy comes in, very upset. Marriage stories, scenes that you would see in acting class in college, where it's married couples like yelling at each other, saying the worst things.
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Yes.
Big time, especially with some of the shots are in this too. I hope that Marisa Bella gets an Emmy nod for this because she's iconic in this.
I know both of them need one for this episode. It's really like they really stretched themselves.
Also just reminded me a lot of like a disheveled Mozart in the movie Amadeus.
Oh, yes.
Henry has a quick line where he says, "We bought a shed in Wakefield."
Yes, yeah.
And I was like, huh? And then I realized So he ran in the
So he
Wakefield
could.
constituency. So they must have bought a house there so that he could run. Because I was thinking to myself, I was like, how did he lose if he's representing, like, I don't know, the two other people who have, like, giant mansion estates in the country? And it's like, no, he literally got a house somewhere so that he could run for the seat.
They probably did their polling and their research and were like, oh, this is the seat that would be the easiest for you to win.
Oh, absolutely.
And thinking that it was going to be a shoo-in. And then the Labor Party rose to the occasion and they won. And he was like, you know what, like, you know, make a difference for the proletariat. It means my circumstances are fixed. Again, digging into Yaz, reminding her any, like, money and position and wealth that she has right now is because she married into his family. Without him, she's nothing. She's a disgraced daughter. And she's just like, well, what is this suicide is poetry bullshit? And, like, really says awful stuff about, like, if Henry dies, it would just be another event for me to organize. Do you realize that Oblivion won't be Moncho? I will fucking forget you. I promise you. And I have to imagine this is not the first time they've said things like this to each other.
No, certainly not. And honestly, though, I was happy to see this because it's been weird this whole episode to see her sort of, like, tamed down and, like, trying to be accommodating to him and biting her tongue. And so I just loved it. I was like, yes, bitch, let loose.
Henry is, like, trapped in this state of depression, like, trying to desperately explain, like, I can't get out from under this. And she's like, where was the romance in your father's death? Finding out that there's, like, more to the story, like, obviously, of, like, what happened to his father. He was like, well, we have a watertight prenup. And trying to say that, like, she's gonna get nothing out of this. And she was like, well, yeah, well, go on, roll up your fucking sleeve, do it, to show that he's been using. There's a clause in our prenup. Yaz almost hits Henry, and he flinches.
He flinches and, like, runs away, too. Like, he's very scared of her.
And she, like, reminds him, like, you know, I can't fucking do anything, and you need to put your big boy clothes on, go downstairs. It's a train wreck, very hard to watch here.
So dark. He looks at his track marks and is like, heroin's probably not the right drug for tonight. Let's go LSD after we've already had liquor and cocaine.
And we go downstairs and we hear Otto is holding court at the table, talking about, I think, the Labor Party or, like, some sort of reform, whatever. Of course, like, mocking the people and any sort of reform that they want to have to, like, improve their lives because they have so much money and power. Who cares about them? And the most demeaning thing we could say, as Henry comes in dressed, it's the Little Prince. Which, like, I, of course, like, think of Le Petit Prince by Antoine Saint-Exupéry, because, like, I had to read that in French class and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, no. Henry is high out of his gourd here. Like, everyone is not ready for what's about to be unleashed. Yaz is like, oh, no. I've let him out of the cage, and I can't be responsible for what's about to happen. Yep. And he starts off on his tirade going, holy shit, you look a lot like the woman who I lost the election to. And he's like, now who the fuck invited you? And then already hold yourself out to my uncle, I see. And then kisses her. And then we see this guy come up out of nowhere. Henry's very excited to see him. And he's like, oh, shall we get the fuck out of Dodge? And now, so it's interesting looking at this shot. And no one else is, like, looking at what's going on.
Right. Nobody else has a reaction to him coming in. And in the moment, you're kind of like, it's because he's making such an ass of himself that, like, they're not paying attention to him. This guy just read to me as, like, a cad played by Hugh Grant. He's, like, you know, just like a British rich boy libertine. Of course, this is one of, like, Henry's, like, college buddies.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It was like he's in town for his birthday. That's, like, sort of what I assumed. I was like, okay, he's here to celebrate. And they end up at a club and they're talking about, like, you know, he's like, I need to, like, work and this friend is, like, gainful employment is a bourgeois pursuit. And Henry's, like, clearly contemplating, like, I might as well die.
Henry says to this guy who he calls the commander, I suspected you were a cheat.
We find out again, Henry's, like, not got a lot of a libido at the moment. And his friend's like, well, Viagra then, pornography. Fucking take responsibility for yourself, which is the last thing Henry is doing right now. None of that darkness shit. And we start hearing, like, weird music again. And he, like, takes his face in his hands. And we cut to our girls doing lines. The girlies are back together. They're snorting coke. We're having a good time. Woo! And Harper's like, you guys look so happy at the wedding. And Yaz is like, we were. I've never been fucked like that ever. And Harper is, like, trying to, like, throw her a bone of, like, I can see how you are drowning. You yourself are drowning in this castle, in this tomb that you're living in. I have business interests here, and clearly you're lonely. That's why I came. And Yaz is like, well, you're fucking lonely. And Harper's like, yeah, so what if I am? Like, she's not, like, trying to hide it. And Yaz is like, well, you can do what you want. And Harper was like, I think we should both go to bed.
It's just funny, like, the way Harper offers support isn't to be like, I can tell that maybe you're going through a hard time and, like, I'm here for you. It's just to be like, this isn't working out for you, Yaz. Like, she's just so blunt and harsh.
Because that's her business mindset.
Yeah, I did appreciate her saying so fucking what to being lonely because, like, I don't know, like, I think I'm in a phase of my life where I'm, like, I'm feeling very, like, hermity, like, I want to kind of be close to home. I'm in a moment where I'm trying not to judge myself, and I kind of, like, don't care, because it's what I want to be doing right now.
As Harper leaves, Jennifer Bevan comes in to pay respects to Yaz, who, like, was about to do a line and, like, puts it down as she, like, comes in. And she's like, I just want to say thanks for helping me. And Yaz is like, hi. She's like, yeah. Which, like, that's me when, like, I've had, like, 2.5 of, like, some gardening, and it's like, yeah, I don't have, like, the words to say anything. You're just like, sure, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Happy to be here. And she asks her if she wants to do a line, and Jennifer Bevan's like, oh, I haven't boffed a line since uni. I was like, what a great line. I would love to say that line on camera. And what do you know? We cut to her alone in the room. And we just talked about this song, recapping I Love a Charade. So, Andi, I'm going to let you take the floor, because you were the one who...
Sure. I mean, yeah, we just talked about this in Sex and the City episode. We just recapped from the original series called I Love a Charade. This is That All There Is by Peggy Lee. Like, the main theme to pick up here is, like, deep, deep, deep disillusionment. It's actually, it was written by the two guys, Lieber and Stoller, who wrote Jailhouse Rock, and it's inspired by a short story by Thomas Mann called Disillusionment. And the song is, like, mainly, like, spoken word poetry with this Is That All There Is chorus, and, like, the idea being, like, you know, everything in life, both good and bad on the extreme end, is nothing, doesn't mean anything, that's all there is, so, like, let's just keep drinking and dancing. We're seeing, like, Henry clearly has something bipolar going on. He's got these high highs and low lows. Yaz in her lifetime has already had all these high highs and low lows, and, like, this is just what it is, and none of it means anything. Like, just deep disillusionment.
And we go back, and Harper is going into another room, and we see her approaching Whitney, and we find out, okay, one, Whitney grew up poor. You can watch it on her face. She is like, this man is not the rich man that I thought he was.
I had a moment where I was like, I was trying to read her face, because I was like, this man is literally in the calmest possible voice saying, like, yeah, I bootstrapped myself before I went to Stanford. So, like, theoretically, when he was a teenager,
he bought a funeral home.
He bought a funeral home and, like, tried to just disrupt death. But I think it's also, like, which is saying a lot for Harper, like, being shocked at how soulless this man may be, like, maybe even too soulless for her.
Yeah.
I had a moment where I was like, why is she asking about, like, how to make a business partnership work from this guy? Like, Harper doesn't seem like the kind of person who would, like, I don't know, pick someone's brain and reach out for help. I think maybe she's doing a little bit of, like, covert espionage based on the reporter calling her. And she and Eric are trying to start this thing. She probably still wants to keep working on shorts. And now she literally fucked this man in the ass. So she's figuring out, can I fuck you in the ass again, but make a lot of money this time?
Yeah.
So I think she's just doing some spying.
And she's, like, testing the waters to see if, like, if that phone call had any legs. He says, you gonna tuck me in? And our girl says, not tonight, and
he's like, then why did I pack the strap-on in my trunk?
God forbid, but it's like, you know, he really thought that, like, he had wooed her in so many ways, and it's like, babe, you don't know Harper Stern. She's
you
like,
do not.
And she watches Whitney walk off, and then we cut back to Yaz, and literally the lyrics are like, I'm not ready to face the light. Because I wouldn't be ready to face this either. And
this is so bad.
She wanders into a random room where we see Uncle Otto getting a blowjob. And if that's not horrifying enough, we find out it's from Aunt Cordelia. And she's having to watch this entire thing. And he gives her a mint for the cock breath. And then he says, you've got a better mouth than your brother. Ah!
My soul left my body.
These people need Jesus. They need Jesus. Oh my God.
Oh my God. They're so awful. Oh, there's so much like sex with incest. It's so much. It's too much.
It's too much. Right, we gotta...
Also, what did I say earlier, class? I said, remember that Cordelia said, get off your knees. And here we are.
Yaz is clearly distraught by what she just saw because that should never happen and you shouldn't have to witness it. We're back at the pub, and when this priest says a line where he tells a joke, do you want to know about Christ's best miracle? To have 12 good friends in your 30s and only one of them sees fit to betray you. So it's like, okay, well, what betrayal is awaiting us on the horizon? And we find out that Henry knows the girl from across the pub that they were staring at.
She is the one that was in his room in the morning doing the drapes.
We find out that she is the one who hid the box behind the vase. And he tries to make a joke. He's like, well, I could fire you for that. And the priest cuts in. He makes a comment. He was like, oh, I baptized you and I married your parents. And then I moved back to St. Mary's in Dundee, which I was like, LOL, Succession. That's where Logan and his brother were
Oh my
from.
God.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't catch that.
Yeah. And he was like, well, you grew, I suppose. And we sort of like, we're like, okay, this priest is clearly like here for a reason, but we like don't quite fully know why yet. Like what's what's really going on here? And this guy is like trying to kiss Molly, and he's watching like how she feels, like she's making like faces at Henry. And Henry yells at this guy and tells him she's not fucking interested. And then this guy is like, well, that's rich from you. Molly says your wife knows she doesn't belong in the house, and the lads call her a stable girl.
Yikes.
Henry beats him into a fucking pulp. And you see the horror from the other people because he's offered to buy a round for everyone in the pub before this, being this congenial, like, you know, person of nobleship in the town. And then you see the reactions of the horror. The priest is obviously horrified, and then we get this visual that he's, like, not moving on the ground.
Right before Henry beats him up, the commander tells him, shine your shoes, boy.
It's gonna come back soon. We're back at the castle. Yaz tells Aunt Cordelia, I actually don't think you should be here. We find out it's her suitcases. And she asks, like, why didn't you come to her dad's funeral? And she's like, you know, life, darling, it got in the way. And she's like, no, you worshipped him. You always told me that he walked on water. She's like, and you knew about his taste. And now it gets even more twisted. There are no boundaries with you, his sister. Implying what I think we are all implying here, which is like already horrifying, knowing what likely happened with Yaz and her father and now his sister. Her justification is we had a very bohemian childhood. It was a different time. It reminds you there's no basement here. There's no, like, we just started digging to China. Aunt Cordelia's going to get in her last whack saying he was going to terminate you till he found out you were a girl.
This was so dark. It was so upsetting.
Like, I don't know how you compartmentalize that. I don't know how you're able to, like, has Yas been in therapy? Has she seen one?
We haven't seen it. I know. It's real dark.
And then we start hearing, going back to, like, Prodigal Son, we hear this, like, weird, spooky rendition of Silent Night starts playing in the background. And Yaz tells her, she's like, well, it's going to be a cold night and there's not any taxis for a while. So get to hoofing, Cordelia. Find your way down. Find yourself a carriage because you are out of here.
Out of here.
And then Haley has been here the whole time.
This device that keeps popping up that Haley just, like, pops out at the end, and you're like, oh my God, this poor girl's been here the whole time.
The whole time in her Northwestern sweatshirt. Yaz offers to make up a room for her, and Haley, again, unclear what the motives of this character are yet.
Yeah.
Says, like, I could just get into bed with you, and, like, Yaz calls her bluff and tells her, like, okay. And she's like, well, I was kidding. All right, so I'll get a roommate up.
You don't know who you're dealing with. This is
No.
Yasmin Kara Hanani. Like, don't tempt her with a good time.
A girl, like, you may be Gen Z, but you don't know. You haven't been around the block.
She's lonely.
Haley has this, like, funny look on her face that I, like, can't interpret what she's making of this. I really don't know what to make of this character yet. I hope we get a little bit more next week. And we go back to the pub. And we're left in, like, the carnage of everything that Henry did. We find out then, as he's, like, making this look, the priest was like, I buried your father, you know. And he's like, do you remember me? And he's like, you know, you underestimate a child's maturity. I could see you thinking that could be my lot. And we see Henry's trying to, like, not engage with the priest. And he's like, Commander, can I get you another? And he's not responding at all. The priest makes this, like, devastating comment. He's like, I wish I had gotten to you this day when dark was at the door. And we see him whisper to him. And we have, like, no idea what's said at this point. So clearly he's saying something, like, very affecting to Henry here. And we cut back to the bar, and Commander is gone. And he's like, you know, this has been a thoroughly enjoyable diversion. And Henry's like, I could do with never seeing you again. And this is when I realized we've been Last Christmas. Which, if you haven't seen Last Christmas starring Emma Thompson, Emilia Clarke, and Henry Golding, then you know the plot of the movie is Emilia Clarke works, I think she, like, works at a Christmas shop. I don't know. She had a heart transplant. She meets this cute boy. Yada, yada, yada. We find out he's been a ghost the whole time, and she got his heart. And that's the twist of the movie.
Folks, get you a girl who can do both. who can reference Kubrick and art history, and then also a movie that, like, was pretty not popular and critically panned.
But I will see everything and anything that Emma Thompson does. So
You are an equal opportunity viewer, and we love that for you.
We go, as we do, highbrow industry, and maybe all's fair. You tell us where that goes on the spectrum. But this is when I start to realize, oh, this is Henry's dad. He's telling him he's going to see him soon because he's acting like he's going to die. I don't know. This was when was this the same part that like clicked for you?
Oh, yeah. I had no idea. Like, I did not see this coming at all. Like, none of it had occurred to me. I thought, you know, things were weird, but, like, he did a bunch of drugs.
They're weird, yeah.
So, yeah, this blew my mind. And, yeah, we get the shot of the watch confirming.
He asks, he's like, will you let me show where it hurts? And we see where he killed himself, like, the mark on his neck. And Henry is, like, obviously, like, devastated by all of this. We cut back to what the priest was saying to Henry when he was whispering to him. And it's not from the Bible. It's from All the Pretty Horses by Cormac McCarthy. Quotes this passage, like, you'll know that what you're seeking to discover was a thing you had known all along. He goes into the garage and he turns on the car, and I was like, oh no, am I really gonna have to, like, even though we know Henry's not gonna die, but I was like, am I gonna have to, like, are we, like, really gonna have to sit through all this? And you see a tear come down his face. And then we realize we're sort of going back into what we have to assume is the day his father killed himself. And we're in the same kitchen that we were in earlier in the episode, but now he's with his mother and father. And he tells him, shine your shoes, boy. Comes back, and he takes a look down, and we cut back, and it's like present day Henry looking at his father leaving. Looks at the shoes. He's back at the little boy. And we cut, and the priest says again, the first person the coward deserts is himself. And we see little Henry looking out the window. And we see this really tragic walk of his dad walking up to this same car that Henry is now sitting in out in the fields of the moor. We cut back. There's more and more fumes coming. Henry is getting carbon monoxide poisoning. We cut to black, and we have to assume we are now with Henry, like, he's passed out, like, he's probably going to die. And then we hear Yasmin's voice, and he finally comes to his senses, stumbles out, and is wheezing. They start playing You Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, the Andy Williams version. And Yaz runs out of the house. You scared the shit out of me, as he's, like, yelling for Yaz. They start kissing, which we have not seen the whole episode. We've, like, since the very beginning when he lost the Wakefield election. We hear the belt buckle company. I was like, they're just about to have sex in front of, like, everyone standing outside. Okay. And Yaz says, if you ever put me through that again, I am the one that will kill you. And I was like, that's mother.
Yeah.
And they start fucking on the car. And Okay, at first I was like, who is she looking at? I was like, is Haley in the window? Because we had just like had this whole weird interaction with Haley. And of course it was
Lord Norton.
we went from winter is coming
I
and
know.
now spring is coming.
The parental figures need to stop being
I
involved
know.
in all the sex stuff. I really can't handle it.
It's too much. And we find out Henry is able to express to Yaz, telling him he's like he killed himself on the morning of his 40th birthday. And I just really loved this moment with them in the car. She was like, you beat him. Beat the cunt by a single sunrise, and tells him like happy birthday, and she kisses the blood off of his hand and leaving this like trail of blood around her mouth. Finally is like, I will take CEO position if it's what's best for us. We think like all things are good, and he's like, you know, a man needs work, because he's gone back to this like whole thing about like how work is his identity. He identifies himself in his work this whole episode. And they drive off, they're speeding out on the countryside, and he screams at the top of his lungs, maybe we should try for a child!
Oh my
Which is
God.
like exactly how every woman wants to be presented that sort of question. And Yaz licks the blood off her mouth and is like, oh no, that's not what I signed up for.
The look on her face just says it all. Like,
That woman is made for surrogacy and boarding school. She is not carrying a child, and that child will not be living in the home.
Well, also, like, she did this. She set this man up with the job. She pulled all of the strings. She
Yes!
did all the legwork, and now
Yes!
he's like, get pregnant. Like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
She was also dealing with a literal man-child the entire episode. Cue Sabrina
Correct.
Carpenter here.
Yeah.
And, like,
We
now...
can afford it. We can afford the
We
rest.
can afford that. And now she's gotten to the other side of it, and she's supposed to be able to relax. And this is the burden of motherhood on women. It's that, like, we can never rest whether you decide to have kids or you don't decide to have
Yeah,
kids.
she's
Like,
already parenting Henry, as you said.
I don't know. This was just, like, so loaded. Like,
It was dense. This whole thing is just such a masterpiece. Like we talked about,
yeah.
there's so many things
An
that it's
incredible
referencing.
episode, 5 stars, yeah.
I don't even know if the priest was real either, or like the priest maybe was there, but he certainly didn't say those things to Henry. Henry is just like, it's like a garbled mess of like stuff that Henry's like has in his bookshelf. There's so much going on in this. Like, it's so dense.
If there's any other references that you see that you notice, like, please let us know in the comments. We want to know how you feel. Like, I mean, also, like, do you also need therapy like I do to discuss like 12 of the lines in this episode that were especially horrifying that I'm going to be thinking about? But man, I really don't know what to expect. What's going to happen next? I think we're back like in like business headquarters, so I think we'll be back like we're leaving the grounds, and we'll be back into like tender headquarters and get my boy Eric back on the horn, because I miss him every day. And but thank you so much for joining us and being on this ride with us. We will be back live, traders, Thursday night recapping as well. There's only one episode this week for everyone's sanity, so we'll be on I think roughly 7:30 Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern Mountain Time. If you live there, that's 8:30. And our Sex and City recaps that we are doing with guests, with us, they're all going to start being released soon. So we hope that you're going to enjoy those in the mix as well, as we have other fun stuff coming for you. Remember, we are on Instagram and TikTok. Let us know what you're liking, what you're yapping about, and we'll yap more with you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.